All right, this is lesson 2.5, solving compound inequalities. You need to write in your journals this vocab word, compound inequality, and your definition. Somebody tell me what the definition is. Let me take it off the screen. Go ahead.
An inequality formed by joining two inequalities of the word and or the word or.
Right, so much in the English language we are learning about compounds, compound words. That's all an inequality is. It's the joining of two separate inequalities into one. It's actually not terrible. Oh, there's a definition for you. Yay. So the two ways you can have a compound inequality, you're going to use the word and you'll see here where on this case, x is greater than or equal to 2, and then also x is less than 5. So when you combine it, you see the graph here where it has the first one where x is greater than or equal to 2, but then it's also less than 5. So you would say 2 is less than or equal to x, and x is less than or equal to, or less than 5. When you're writing the whole thing, if the x fits in between here, are you paying attention? Because I'm here. If the x fits in between these two signs, you don't have to actually write the and sign. You see how they have 2 less than or equal to x, which is also less than or equal to 5? Correct. If you have them going opposite directions, see here? The two different formulas going opposite, you use the word or. So y is less than or equal to negative 2, or y is greater than 1. Question?
So for the and, are you looking for the bottom thing?
Yes, the very bottom answer. This is what I will grade. Yeah. So if you can say it with the and when you talk about the two inequalities, you don't have to write and, you put the x in between the two signs. All right? All right. We'll do some examples. It'll start to make a little more sense. So, example 1. We're going to write each of these sentences as an inequality and then graph them. So the first one, A, number x is greater than negative 8 and less than or equal to 4. So you heard the and. So already, you know that the x is going to be between the two inequality signs, right? So let's start writing it. X. So write x. And then your sign is what? Is greater than negative 8. Okay, and then the other inequality is x is less than or equal to, so your sign is less than or equal to 4. Now you see here how we wrote it, the x is on the left of both of these. In order to put it in the middle, you're going to have to flip this first one. So you'll have negative 8 less than x.
That makes so much sense, because then you would have to do so on the number line you'd put in between, so
right.
That's where the numbers
are. So then from this dot to this dot, everything in between there is a possible solution for x. And then if it's a filled in dot, it means it could also equal the 4. So if it's not a filled in dot, it's not the negative 8.
That makes sense. It's anywhere above 8 and
negative 8.
Negative.
And less than 4, including 4. Does that make sense?
What? No.
So if I were to graph this, I'm going to start at the negative 8, and I put an open circle because it's not equal to. See, this sign doesn't have an equal to. So open circle at negative 8. And then at positive 4, I put another circle, but it's filled in because x could also be equal to 4. And then x is everything in between these two dots. So you would draw your line between the two dots. Does that help? A little bit? We'll do a few.
So it's basically just like a line segment?
Correct. On the number line. A line segment on the number line. It shows you the range that of numbers that you could plug in for x to make that statement true. The inequality true.
So if you have a budget of this much and you can't spend more than that much.
Yep. But if you go below 0, you're going to lose money. Yep. Nope. Good concept. All right, so let's do B. I'm going to guess it's an or. A number y is at most 0. So is it less than 0?
Yeah.
Yes, and it includes 0, right? Because it's at most 0. So y is less than or equal to 0 or at least 2. So you put or, and then x would be at least 2.
So it's greater than or equal to.
Correct.
You said X.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to always being x. Y is greater than or equal.
Wait,
You're like, what? There's an x? No, my bad. Y.
I was genuinely good.
No, you're good. Sorry about that. All right, so when it's an or, you can't combine these two into an inequality all at once, a compound inequality. You would just have two separate inequalities. So you just leave it. Y is less than or equal to 0 or y is greater than or equal to 2. Now we're going to graph it. So your first dot goes at 0. Is it open or closed?
Close.
Closed.
Yeah.
And then you shade everything to the left. Oh, they did the other dot first. The other dot is at 2. So we shade everything to the left of 0, and then we also shade everything to the right of 2.
Yeah, so then it was. Wait.
So they're like
So
going
it's
opposite
definitely
directions.
not 1.
Correct. Or anything in between
1.1, 1.2.
0.1 all the way to 1.9. It's every other number other than that. So specific. We got you. All right. Any questions on this? Any questions on this?
No, man.
Okay. You guys can work on the try-its. Nope. Monitoring progress. I taught 5th and 6th grade. All right. Okay. So now we're going to look at a compound inequality that has it not completely solved for the variable and solve it. Really need you to pay attention when I'm talking. Talking to each other is not going to get you anywhere. So we're going to do example 2. So we're going to write each of these. Notice how each of these have extra stuff here in the middle of the compound inequality. Okay, all we're doing is solving. It's not going to be hard, guys. Don't get intimidated. So first thing you do is, hold on, I don't know if I like the way they're going to make you do this. Nope, we're not going to do it that way. Not going to do it that way. I mean, you can, but there's easier. Okay, let me see if my whiteboard works. 1 second. And you can watch my terrible handwriting with my trackpad. Usually I use a mouse and it works better. Okay, my whiteboard's not working, but I'm going to show you how to do it the way they want you to do it, and then I just checked example B. It shows you the better way. So we'll do both ways, just so that way whatever works for you guys is fine. So the two ways you can solve these is you can break this inequality into two separate inequalities. This is harder work, just so you know, longer, but you can do it. So the first part would be -4 less than x minus 2. And then your other inequality, the and, would take the x minus 2 less than 3. So you got to write both inequalities with everything on the inside attached to the other half. Then you just solve it like we used to solve an inequality. So on the left here, we would move the -2 by doing what? Adding. So we'll do that on all sides. So move the plus 2 over here, plus 2 over here. What's -4 plus 2?
-2.
And then 2 plus -2?
0.
0 on this side. So then you get -2 is less than x, and x is less than 5. So then this is your new compound inequality, because all we did was solve for x.
You don't like it?
I'll show you. You'll understand why I like the other way better. This is not wrong. You can totally do it this way. But that was a lot of extra steps. Not a lot of extra steps. Just extra steps. So then to graph this, you'd put a dot at -2, open or closed?
Open.
Open. And a dot at 5, open or closed? Open. And then it would be everything in between that. And your clue to that was that it was an and. All right, so let's do the second one.
It's always in between when it's an and.
What's an and? It's always in between. If it's an or, it's always on the outsides. Just got to make sure your signs are facing the correct direction. Charlie, are you writing this down?
I wrote that one down.
This one? This is the new one. Okay, so write this in your journals. B. This is example 2B.
Why is the 9 so small?
Yeah, why is the 9 so like?
They're leaving space to do things. You don't have to do that. All right, so in order to solve this one, instead of writing 2 inequalities, you can just solve this middle like we do in inequality. The difference is you have to do everything that you do to the middle, you have to do on the outsides. So like the first thing I would do is move the 1, correct?
-1.
So you're going to -1 from the 9 and from the -3.
That makes sense.
And you don't have to rewrite anything. So then -3 minus 1 goes to -4, and 9 minus 1 goes to 8. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Here's one other thing you got to catch. Now to get the x by itself, what are we doing?
Divide by -2.
What happens?
You have to flip.
Hey, y'all are so smart. When you divide by a negative, the signs all switch. Yes, because you divided by a negative. So flip the signs and rewrite. -4 divided by -2 would be 2, and then 8 divided by -2 would be
-4.
-4. So now you see you have 2 greater than x, which is greater than or equal to -4. Now, proper writing would want to flip this whole thing, because reading from left to right, you want your most negative number on the left and your most positive number on the right.
Okay.
It is not wrong to leave it like this. You can totally leave it like this. But if you want to flip it, just make sure the signs flip with you. Okay?
Yeah.
See how they did it? So then they have the -4 less than or equal to x, which is less than 2. Now graph it. So we have a open or closed circle at -4.
Close.
Closed circle. Open or closed at 2.
Open.
And then it's everything in between. All right. What questions do you have?
No.
I can hold on. Any other questions? All right. Once you have that in your journal, go work on the monitoring progress points. All right. I lied. We're doing another example. All right. Example 3. Put this one in your... Oh, we're doing the OR version. Okay.
So it's basically the same.
Pretty much. We're just doing the OR. The OR one you do have to do in 2 separate inequalities. So you're going to write 3y minus 5 is less than -8, and then the OR 2y minus 1 is greater than 5. Now, I don't mind if you do all of these side by side, solving them all at once, or you can solve the left one first and then the right one first. That's fine. Either way, whatever works for your brain. So here, what am I going to move first on the left equation?
No, left +5.
I'm going to add 5, correct. Oh, see, they're doing it all at once. On this equation, I'm going to add the 1 to move it over. So what is -8 plus 5?
-3.
Correct. And then 5 plus 1? 6. Like I said, you don't have to do this at the same time. If your brain wants to do one inequality first and then the other inequality second, totally fine. All right, so then how do I get the y by itself? Divide by the coefficient next to it. So on this side, we're dividing by 3. This side, we're dividing by 2. So -3 divided by 3 would be? -1. 6 divided by 2 would be? 3. So y is less than 1, or y is greater than 3. So get your graph. Open or close circles?
Open.
Open on both of them. So at the -1, at the +3, and then it's everything on the outside of these 2 circles.
Okay.
Yeah. So when it's an or, you do have to do the 2 inequalities. If it's an and, you just solve it all in one, in my opinion. It's easier. Or less time consuming. All right, any questions on this? No? Excellent. All right, now we can do, I'll go back. Now you do monitoring progress 3 through 6. All right, this is example 4. Get your journals. Example 4. Electrical devices should operate effectively within a specified temperature range. Outside the operating temperature range, the device may fail. You guys seen your phones do the, it's too hot, and it won't work?
Especially when you're charging it sometimes.
Yeah, in the car.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to write and solve a compound inequality that represents the possible operating temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit of the smartphone. Describe one situation in which the surrounding temperature could be below the operating range and one in which it could be above. So on the left picture here, we have the operating temperature in what? Celsius. So we're just having to convert this to Fahrenheit because it's already got a range for us. So you guys remember the formula? Write this on your journal. C equals 5/9 F minus 32. This is how to change degrees to Fahrenheit. Everybody got it?
Mhm.
Okay. So we know the formula they give us that the temperature has to be between 0 degrees Celsius and 35 degrees Celsius, correct? So we're going to take wherever the C is in here and plug in what C equals according to our temperature, right? So what does C equal according to our temperature formula?
5/9 times F minus 32.
Perfect. So you understand why I was able to plug that in for where C originally was. All right, so now we're going to rearrange for F, and we'll know what the temperatures should be in Fahrenheit. So what's the first thing you should do? We're going to move the 5/9. Since it's multiplying, what would you do? Divide. But since it's a fraction, you actually flip it and multiply. So we're going to multiply the left side by 9/5 and the right side by 9/5. Left side's real easy because it's 0. They did it in 2 steps. You don't have to do it in 2 steps. Ooh, they did it weird. They just moved the 9 first. Yeah, don't do it that way. Just take the whole fraction. 5/9. Don't do it this
So
way.
it'd be 5/9 F.
Wait, what? Where'd the 0 go? Oh, really? Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back because they did it harder. That's not okay. That's not okay. All right. So what you're gonna do? Here, I'll write it on the board. If you're online, sorry, I'm putting it on the board. Good luck.
Good luck.
Well, I don't know if it's backwards or not.
No, it's the same.
Like, no, but the camera might be backwards. So when I write on the board,
it'd be mirrored.
let me see.
No, it's the same.
Yeah, that looks
See.
okay.
I can't see.
Yeah,
All right.
I can.
That's a terrible marker. Let me try red or orange. All right, so we have
Divide by 5/9.
0. Let me write the whole thing. Less than or equal to 5/9 F minus 32. And then over here, it's less than or equal to 35. Okay, is that on the camera? Whoop. There we go. All right, so we're moving this 5/9. To move it, you technically divide by 5/9.
Yeah, but then
But it's a fraction, so we're going to multiply 9 over 5 over here and multiply 9 over 5 over here. So that cancels. I leave my F minus 32 in the middle. And then I have 0 times 9/5 is still 0. So over here, you're going to do 35 times 9/5 on your calculators.
Yeah, it's 63.
63. So much easier than all the mess they were doing. Okay? Take the whole fraction.
Plus 32.
And then, yeah, now we plus 32 on both sides. So add 32 here,
95.
plus 32 here.
And
So we get 32 is less than or equal to F, which is less than or equal to 95.
So it must be greater than 32, but less than 95.
And this is now in Fahrenheit.
yeah.
Since it's a word problem, would we have to label that or no?
Yeah, you have to put the,
Huh?
you do this.
Why is there a whole paragraph?
Well, because then it asks you to give two, remember to ask you to give you 2 ways that the temperature would be below the 0 and above the 95. So below 0, we're fishing in Alaska. Above 95, we live in Texas. I mean, yeah. So, but yeah, the inequality would be this one right here, 32 less than F, less than or equal to 95. You could write the range of the temperature should be between 32 degrees Fahrenheit to 95 degrees Fahrenheit.
32 seems more like Texas, though, in the winter.
We do get down to 32 in Texas, yeah.
Not Alaska. That seems a little too hot for Alaska.
No, Alaska's nice.
Actually,
Antarctica.
I have friends
That's
in
a little.
Alaska, and I say it's really nice.
All right. Your last part is monitoring progress number 7, and then you're done for the day.
yay!
Yay!